Hey, good Monday morning, everybody. Chief Meteorologist Brad Panovich here. Let's get right to what's happening right now. Kind of an interesting setup today. A couple days ago, looked like the risk would go around us. Yesterday, that risk ramped up. Today, kind of a little bit in between. And let me explain what's happening here. So you can see we've got a decent line of showers and storms just ahead of the front right here. What's happened is the air up here is a little bit more stable. So think along in North Interstate 40. And this early morning rain through the mountains has helped stabilize things. But here's the thing, this is still going to march up this direction later today. So all areas down in here, I think we're still going to see a decent risk of severe weather because you could see the breaks in the clouds and the warm air surging up. So there's still enough instability here, especially from Greenville, Spartanburg, Charlotte to Raleigh south. I think areas in the northwest Piedmont and the foothills might escape the worst of this. So let's kind of get right into the outlook today because I think it's going to show you exactly what I'm talking about. I think this is pretty well placed, to be honest with you, based on what's happening. So I'm going to turn the radar back on just so you can kind of get an idea. I think sometimes this does help kind of show you what I'm talking about. But you can kind of see if this line continues to travel up here, we're going to see it affect areas in the red. Orange certainly still has that medium risk, but the red area is the area in particular we're watching. So I still think that risk is there. Now, the tornado risk, thankfully, has gone down a little bit yesterday. It was really high yesterday, honestly. 10% is pretty high for our area. It's gone back down to the 5% probabilities in these areas. And I'll show you that here in a minute. Let me just move my cursor out of the way. There's a look at the probabilities of tornadoes. You see that 5% probability in brown. Green is the 2% probability. And what you really need to watch out for in this setup is that if we get cells that develop ahead of this line, those could be supercells. And then within the line, you get those squiggly, kind of what we call line echo wave pattern or QLCS, just a fancy name for a squiggly squall line that heads our way. So let me show you some of the other parameters real quickly, then we'll go back to the future cast. So one of the ingredients we look at is something called the significant tornado parameter. It's just a composite index or a whole bunch of different data we look at to see, what are the chances we're going to see some tornadic storms, or at least the ingredients for tornadic storms. So we get to about 2 o'clock this afternoon. You see it trying to build. We get to 3, 4, 5 o'clock. Whoops, went too far. Let's stop right there. So this is around 4 o'clock. So you can see ahead of that line, which is going to be coming up in this direction, there is a little area of ingredients there. Not crazy high. You're talking maybe 1, 2s on our significant tornado parameter. I'm going to go back one model run here just because, we don't have data that goes out that far. But you see kind of right there by 5 o'clock, 6, 7. Yeah, there's a little bit of ingredients there for some rotating storms. And in fact, the velocity or the updraft helicity shows a couple of those tracks. Remember yesterday, we're not looking at precision here. This is too exact. Somewhere in here, we're going to have 1 or 2 tracks that are going to be rotating storms. It could be a little further south, and I would say further south is most likely. But the fact that we've got one long one here, kind of right on the edge of that stable, unstable air. If we look at the most recent update of this, you could kind of see there's some indication a cluster of storms coming up here late this afternoon around 3, 4 o'clock in this area and moving in this general direction is something we're going to have to watch. So let's go back and look at that future cast and kind of fine tune the timing here. All right, we're going to dive right into our future cast this morning. So that first cluster of storms kind of falls apart. That one stabilizes things briefly, but it's this second batch. Like here we are. This is close to noon today. And again, this will be easy to track on the radar because we'll be able to see a couple of things. And sometimes we call this nowcasting, but in this case, a day like today, you can see the cluster of storms here. You're going to see if the sun is coming out, if the humidity is high, if the CAPE, that thunderstorm fuel, is surging as this approaches. So we get towards 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, right around 3 o'clock. Again, remember, this is max heating of the day. So that's the one thing that gives me pause to say, hey, this may not be so bad. The timing here, this is a rare case where we have a front heading our way so far this year, at least, that is arriving during the warmest part of the day. So that's always a word and something that I would keep in the back of my mind, or just something to definitely note, because as it moves through, it's around 4 or 3:30, 4:30, 5 o'clock. So if you look in there, there's some indications of individual cells. So certainly potential is there. And as I mentioned, if I were to draw a line on 85, 85 is roughly right there. Anywhere along and south of I-85, I think there's definitely something that's going to happen there. We're going to see 1 or 2 strong storms, maybe rotating storms. This is through 6:30, 7:30, 8:15, 9 o'clock, and then overnight it moves out. So just to give you the timing of this, if you're planning your day, this is about 1:45, and again, plus or minus an hour. around 2:30, around 3:30, 4:30, 5:30, 6:30, 7:30, 8:30, 8:15ish, 9 o'clock. So that gives you a rough idea on the timing. So again, watch this potential closely. This is definitely going to be some strong storms at the very least. And one of the things I'll keep a close eye on is, where do we see these rotational tracks showing up? There's not a ton. I definitely think the tornado risk overall has decreased. So I completely agree with the reduction in tornado risk. But as we like to say, it's gone down, but it's not zero. So stay weather aware this afternoon. We'll give you updates throughout the afternoon and evening. And again, timing here is afternoon. So think after 2 o'clock through 8 o'clock. So 2 p.m. to 8 p.m. right now looks to be the window for the severe storms.